Hello, this is an assessment in transit for a client of a Knight Classic style, 106 centimeters tall, made in 1960. The casework is in reasonable condition. The music sounds a slightly different colour. It has been refinished and the bottom panel is slightly different too, but generally well done. There's a few slight marks here and there which we could try and improve, but generally the case is good. We can see there's no fade line. If I push this down, we can see well, there's a slight fade line, but not very significant. And the top of the piano is reasonable too. So we could possibly try and improve it a little. It's not the original finish on the piano, so it might be difficult to know what to do to improve it, but we'll certainly try to do that if that's what's required. You can see a little damage here as well. Knight pianos protrude from the wall because the frame is so heavy they have to offset the rear casters, as we've said before, and the casters are working fine. Internally, the piano is in fine condition. This is an earlier Knight, so the jacks, for instance, are made of wood and they're waxed on the top. We don't really need to lubricate them, so we don't have to take the tapes off, which is good because they can break quite easily when you take them off. You usually have to soften them with something like hand cream and then they will pull off more easily. We don't have to do that anyway, but I just want to look at the hammers to see how much wear there has been. And looking at them, we can see slight indentation, but not that significant. There, it's showing up better now. So it's been used at some stage, say for an hour a day for 5 years or so. That would be that amount of wear. So considering the age of the piano, not being hugely used, I think a little bit more than that possibly now I'm looking at them all, but not a huge amount. And the regulation is generally good, though there is some regulation to do. The keys are a little tight, and one of the regulations we're always doing is to use talc to lubricate here, and also just make sure that the hole is cleaned out here. And we don't want to open that hole up at all because that will cause the piano to move backwards, the keys to move backwards and forwards, which is not good at all. So looking at the regulation that does need doing definitely is the dampers here. They're lifting off too late. So if you can see the dampers, they should be lifting off between a half possibly and maybe 2/3, but they're nearly 3/4 or more, and they're not coming off the strings enough. So if you try and tune it, they're almost damping while you're tuning it. And when you're playing it, it's the same, especially if you play gently, it hardly comes off at all. So that's a major task that needs doing, but general regulation as well. They're coming off much earlier, which is better. So a variety really, but it's the wedge ones that count. They must come off enough to clear the strings, well clear the strings. Moth damage is so common in pianos. First thing you look at is this felt, which was behind the keys here. That's been replaced, I think, when it was repolished, but there's no evidence of little bits taken out of it. If you've got a piano, just have a quick look, seeing if there's any little bits taken out here, and you can see that the moths had a go at eating the piano, and in which case they've usually eaten the felt underneath the keys. That's where they tend to go and breed, and you see very often the keys destroyed, but there's no evidence of moth in this piano at all. If there was, you'd see little droppings here. There'd be green droppings, the colour of the felt. Something else we always check is whether there's any sideways play on the hammers. Knights rarely do have that. They're such well-made actions that you don't get sideways play. But if that's the case, you do need to change the centre pins, otherwise the hammer wobbles towards the string and the touch is impeded as well. The dampers also weren't lifting off enough with the pedal. We've actually adjusted that by giving us about 2 or 3 millimeters more, so that they clear the strings. That's quite simple to do. By turning this screw downwards, you're going to make the dampers come off earlier. And we actually turn this upwards a bit because we put little felts underneath here to get 4 millimeters extra angle here, so these are angled down a bit. They were 7.5 I think from the ground, which is a bit high, so we've angled them a bit, and that makes it more comfortable to play. There's the K20 on the frame. We also get that on a model called a K6, which is actually a K6, but it's got K20 on the frame, and that's the other serial number. They always tend to put 2 serial numbers on their pianos. The one we use to date the piano is this number here. This Knight is much brighter than most, and now you can hear particularly bright sound. If we play the semitones next to each other, there's quite a lot of variety. Then obviously we want to voice that down a bit, I think, and match them up. And if you want it much mellower, then we certainly can do that. These hammers can be mellowed down as much as you like them to be. There's another night we have here dated about 1970, and the hammers are very soft on this piano. They're initially soft, and I can get my thumbnail into them, which indicates they are very soft indeed, and extremely mellow. This is a Kemble from about 1984, and you can hear that slight difference in tone, but it's a very well made piano. So this is a small Kemble piano that we like to source because it's a very small piano, and people who want a small piano, it's one of the best small pianos you can get. There's a slight difference there, but they've matched it quite well. So knights are dispensed with the brace bar, so that you won't find any break in the hammers here. Some knights, some younger knights, you will find the break, and it's not the style that we buy. The tone varies across the range here. It's a bit on the bright side. And the tenor has a lot of potential, and the bass isn't too bright, so we want to even the whole tone of the piano up, really. A good break point. It's a fine piano, as knights of this age tend to be, and this is a summary of the work that we feel would improve the piano. So definitely regulating the dampers is really important, and voicing is something we would definitely do if it was one of our own pianos. We've angled the pedals, which is something we love to do to make it a bit more comfortable to play. And last of all, we've got the key weighting here. 57 grams is not really too heavy. They go up to about 55. Apparently new Kawais are about 55 grams across the range. So the bass tends to be heavier, but the up weight is fine. That means that we can lower that down weight without any problem. Up weight must be a minimum of 20, and you can see the sharps are generally heavier than the naturals. That's typical on a knight, and we can lower the weight and even it all out. On a new piano, high quality new piano, Foric for instance, so we do sell new Foric pianos, and the weight's extremely even, around about 50 grams down weight on all of the keys. That's something we can certainly do. If you'd like the keys weighted, then we can either weight them as they would normally be, about 50 grams in the centre, or we can weight them lighter or heavier, whichever you prefer. So the Knight classic style piano, 1960, and extremely well made, as we've said many times about Knights. Very pleasant to play, beautiful tone. But here is a bit on the bright side. You can hear some of them stand out. Certainly, if it was our own piano in stock, we would want to do that. The casework's been refinished, and the colouring is slightly different on this music stand, but it's pleasant to look at, and the styling of the piano is very pleasant, the classic style. The tuning is good. It's about A440, just above, and very stable, extremely stable pianos, Knights. If you're interested in having a piano assessed, then we're really happy to do that in transit, or just any piano really, if you want opinions on a piano that you're thinking of buying. We obviously haven't got unlimited time, but we try and help where we can. The touch is phenomenal really on Knight pianos, as good as any upright piano that you would like to learn on. So if you want a smaller piano, or just prefer a Knight, prefer a non-black piano to the Yamahas for instance that we always have, then we can really recommend them. If you're interested in having a piano assessed, then please do write to robertspianos@gmail.com. Thank you for listening.